Multi-platinum pop star Mika is back with his fourth album, No Place in Heaven. A truly international artist. Born in Beirut, he's been a judge on X Factor Italia and a coach on France's version of The Voice. Good afternoon, Mika.
Afternoon, how's it going?
Really good, thank you. And your album has just been released this morning in the UK, so are you excited?
I am, I'm excited.
You better be, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm a little tired because I did a BBC Breakfast this morning, which is always an early wake-up call, but it's you know, it's really good. It's good to be back in the UK. It's good to be kind of promoting music again. In the UK, it's been a little bit of a while while I've been kind of chasing all these crazy adventures in other places.
What crazy adventures have you been chasing then? Tell us a little bit about what you've been working on.
I was always terrified of doing, television. And finally I'd said no to a lot of things, and I got this offer to do it in Italy. And I was just like, well, what's the worst that can happen? At least, maybe I'll be able to be myself, because I won't have to even think about the consequences. I'll just throw myself into it. I had a really good time, and then I started doing The Voice of France, and I've been touring, and so it's been an interesting few years. But it came to a point where I was like, I need to make another album. I need to make something that reflects the kind of the way that I feel right now, and so that's why I made No Place in Heaven, which is this new record where it has quite a defined sound.
Why were you terrified about doing TV? Because you're an international star.
You know what? It's, I guess, because I wasn't as necessarily completely at ease with myself. And as we all know, with television and also with radio for long expanses of time, it's like if you have anything that you're uncomfortable about, it all comes to the surface, and it's so obvious to the viewers, to the listeners. And so I had to do it at a point in my life where I was able to let go a little bit, because especially within the context and the framework of a talent show, if you are remotely insincere, if you try and, kind of like fake things, it becomes some kind of ridiculous panto really quickly, and it just smells bad.
So you took the decision to be totally yourself then? Was that scary?
It was terrifying. I mean, at the same time, I have to say I didn't have much choice, because when I didn't speak Italian, and everyone thought I was completely mad. My management thought I was completely taking the mick when I said that I was going to do it. And when I was offered it, I thought it was funny. But then I was just like, why not? I learned Italian. I started learning Italian. I only had 2 months to get ready. And I got to the audition phase when we were filming, and my vocabulary wasn't bad, but I wasn't able to express myself, and so I had to do it with my face and with my body and with very limited words, and by doing that you can't help it, the truth just comes out straight away, because you don't have the eloquence or the vocabulary to cover up.
It's written on your face.
Did you just say you learnt Italian in 2 months?
Yeah.
So I know, for those that don't know, how many languages do you speak? There's quite a few in there, aren't there?
Yeah, well, I speak English reasonably well.
Phew. Otherwise, this would have been a very short interview.
I speak, you can't quite, body language doesn't quite communicate in the same way on radio. But I speak French as well, and I speak Spanish. Interestingly, in this intense phase of learning the Italian, it just booted the Spanish right out. It's almost like a kind of form of language amnesia. It's very strange. And apparently
they're so
that's quite
similar.
common.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're so similar, aren't they? But then there are such huge, to actually get your point across there are obviously quite a lot of differences. So I can understand how one can't stay, because they're too close.
It's too close. It's way too close. And but hopefully I'll get it back. But the language thing, it was like I remember there was this review that came out of when we first started airing, and it was like, it was quite cruel. It was in one of the most serious papers in Italy, and they were like, great, one of our biggest primetime shows now has someone who speaks with the linguistic ability of a vulgar butcher. I was like, well, firstly, what kind of an insult is that? What is a vulgar butcher?
Yeah.
Like something out of Sweeney Todd in the 1800s.
I can see vulgar butchers taking great offence.
I was like, what does that mean?
My father was a vulgar butcher. True story.
Exactly. I was like, God, I actually took it as a compliment. I think I took to Twitter. I was like, you know what? If I can speak Italian like a vulgar butcher, I'm doing pretty well, actually.
So you did X Factor Italia. You also did The Voice in France. Do the French version of The Voice have the swivel chairs?
Yeah, of course it does.
That is The Voice.
I need
it
to check this, because I know you said you were trying desperately to be yourself and feel comfortable in that space. Does the crazy chair help in any way, shape or form?
When you see it on television, it looks like it swivels round so fast that it can make you ill.
Yeah.
But and with all the big sound effects and everything, in actual fact, it doesn't turn that fast when you're in the studio. You know, the concept behind The Voice was that it was never supposed to have swizzly chairs. It was supposed to, and it was at the last minute, one of the original presenters, who was a friend of the creator John de Mol in Holland, he said, you know, what if the chairs were just the other way around? And so they tried it literally by turning the chair around, and they did a little test, and it became the thing that has carried that show around the world.
That's incredible. It was a last minute addition. I had no idea.
By this presenter, friend of his, who held the key, you know, to having this kind of huge format that it is today.
Magic. Who are your co-presenters in France?
French artist, one massive guy who's as famous as Johnny Hallyday, whose name is Florent Pagny, and two other French artists as well. Very, very much French. You know, I'm the only one who although I speak good French, I'm the only international one.
And in terms of how they deal with it, how seriously do they take it? Is it a very serious show, or is it full of fun?
It's, you know what, it's quite serious. And it's quite a serious show. They take it quite seriously. I mean, and the consequences are massive. You know, when a singer wins The Voice in France, they can. The guy who won, who was in my team about a year
dropped
ago.
that in. He was on your team. I like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, we act like it's even in X Factor. You know, everyone fights and they're like, "It's my team." The truth is, we didn't create them. We just met them a couple months before. But it's just, you know, it can sell records. That's the thing in France. Like the winner's winning. He's like selling 1.5 million records, which is massive.
Why do you think it doesn't necessarily work as well here?
The record selling part of it, you mean? I don't know. I think that it's always a really tough thing to go from a talent show to kind of having records on the radio that can, and developing an identity completely away from that, which is what you need to do in order to have a big career after one of these shows.
They've just lost one of their top presenters as well on The Voice to X Factor.
It's really quite a full-on bit of media chess that's happening right now. And I can't think how complicated the situation must really be on both sides.
Mika, let's talk about the new album. The first single from that album is Talk About You. Let's play a little bit of it. I would describe this as classic you.
Oh, cool.
Walk through the city like stupid people do.
That's Talk About You from No Place in Heaven, which is Mika's new album. If you're just joining us, he's our guest on 5 Live this afternoon. Mika, what do you say to those who say your style is sort of relentlessly sunny, it's frothy, it's upbeat? Do you ever go dark?
You know, I do. Just like everyone, I'm a human being. and I think that also, like, you know, joyful pop music is really great when it's also got an underlining kind of slight darkness to it, and it's the mixture of that like, for example, dark lyrics with really joyful music that makes it kind of much more interesting. When something is just sweet, it's unbearable. When something is just sad, equally, without any hope, it's also equally unbearable for similar reasons.
So if there were, this is a ridiculous experiment, I'm sure you've never done this, if there were 100 people sitting in a room listening to that album of yours, what reaction do you want? Do you want them to smile? Do you want them to laugh? Do you want them to sort of be thoughtful, or what?
Ideally, all of those things, especially with this album, because the album is written like a very candid, intimate diary where nothing is hidden and nothing is sacred. And it goes from, you know, songs that like a Torch song that sounds like it comes from an Nat King Cole record, where I describe all the banal things that I resent simply because, you know, the person I love has left me, and to explosions of color, like, you know, and pop like that one, to a song dedicated to my mother and how I down in her heart, I suspect that all she wanted was another son, but not me. And there's all these little intimate vignettes of my life and my family life and the people I love and my friends. And so hopefully I really tried to conceive it as quite a tight concept, so it has, you know, ups and downs. It makes you laugh but also makes you think. And I had in my head a lot of the records that I think are some of the finest pop records ever made, and they were made in the 70s by Billy Joel or by Carole King or by early Elton John albums, for example, where they've got this real singer-songwriter pop credibility, but it's really intimate at the same time.
You could have just missed what you just said there, but you just said that your mum, all she wanted in her heart, you think, was another son, just not you. That's very, very sad.
It's sad, but the song's really happy, and and the music's really joyful, and it's kind of a way of undoing that bomb, you know, of those things. And even if my mother now is really happy and proud of me, but I still suspect that a more traditional version of myself, and maybe even in, you know, there's this kind of like this thing that she would prefer that. But
because you're gay?
Well, because no, not only that, because life is, but part of that is to do with sexuality and also my lifestyle. You know, I joined the circus from such a young age. I was kicked out of school and I started making music, and I've never stopped since then. And then also my personal life isn't complicated, and you know, in the back of my mind, even if it's like overwhelmingly she's proud of me, a more traditional son who has a wife and a kid who goes over and has like lunch every weekend, there is a part of her in her exhaustion after all these years of having to deal with someone like me, which is she would kind of prefer that now. But by saying it, it undoes it. And I think that is, at the end of the day, that can happen on pop albums, especially self-written pop albums. It's really powerful.
Does she know the song's about her?
She does.
What does she think of it?
She loves it. She liked it from the beginning. It made her quite, it provoked in her this reaction where she was smiling, but I could see there was a tiny tear in her eye. And even though she was smiling, and she was kind of tapping her feet to it. And that mixture of emotion is something that makes pop music delicious.
The song Good Guys from the album asks, where have all the gay guys gone? And then it changes to where have all the good guys gone? What did you mean exactly by that? And who are today's modern male gay icons, or are there any?
I think there are loads. And when I wrote the song, I was writing to myself. I was like, can I dare to be anything like the people that I looked up to when I was 14 years old, and that I still look up to this day. I know, from like movie icons to, like, you know, aesthetically and emotionally, like James Dean, right through to Rufus Wainwright, who as a songwriter gave me this kind of like way of forming an identity. I was like, he can do it, why can't I do it? And when I was younger, and I wanted to put myself back into that zone, and so that's why I wrote that. It was like, where are they in you? You know, I was talking to myself. In doing so, I realized that I was actually kind of putting down quite a provocative question when it was seen from the outside. Where have all the gay guys gone? Where have all the good gay guys gone? It provokes discussion. And if anything, you realize it's an homage to the good gay guys, to the guys who don't care about the consequences. The song cites an Oscar Wilde quotation, which I believe he wrote when he was in jail, and it goes, if we're all in the gutter, at least some of us are looking up at the stars. And if I was a 14-year-old version of myself, I would take a song like Good Guys and I'd hold it quite close to me as this little kind of very discreet, gentle little hymn to kind of like push you along in the right direction.
I think he was in Kilmainham jail actually at the time.
It was, right, exactly.
I was thinking about that exact concept that you've just described, and I was wondering, is it just that we're at a stage now where it doesn't matter anymore where all the good gay guys have gone, particularly to young gay men? They just come out. It's a different world.
I think it will. How do you say that? Firstly, I think it does matter because there are consequences to be dealt with. And I think by saying that it doesn't matter kind of makes a lot of people for whom it is much more difficult, which there are plenty, it kind of makes the problem seem, not important or insignificant or something they should be ashamed of. And I think that's unfair. Also, let's not forget that even this conversation is a privilege which is denied to a lot of people in a lot of other countries. I think that at the same time, this idea of the chase, the hunt, the kind of forcing people out of the closet, which is something that was really almost a media kind of like obsession, I would say 10 or 20 years ago, but definitely even 10 years ago. That has calmed down now. It is kind of seen as in bad taste a little bit more to kind of like to chase after labels in the same way. So from that side of things, it's gotten better, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter.
Just want to read you a quote from Sam Smith, Mika. It says, "It's important to me that my music reaches everybody. I've made it so that it could be about anything and everybody, whether it's a guy, a female or a goat." And everybody can relate to that. Is that universal appeal important to you?
I think, well, I don't know about the goats, but I think, you know, that is synonymous with pop music. It is the part of the mechanism of pop music. All you have to do is look back at this really cool little book that Paul McCartney published, where he takes his lyrics and he also takes some of his poetry, and in this book he gets onto the song Blackbird. Now, the original words for the song Blackbird from the White Album was "Black woman screams at Little Rock." He abstractified the lyrics and made it "Blackbird singing in the dead of night." It basically means that the sentiment that it provokes, the tolerance, and also the emotion that it provokes isn't lost. It's just made universal. If anything, it makes it more powerful. So from the beginning, you know, when you look at Rocket Man as well with Elton John, look at some of those Queen songs, it's all in there. It's the abstraction and also the vagueness of it is not a weakness. Or Bob Dylan is a perfect example.
Mika, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you.
On your next album, you've definitely got to put a song as an homage to the goats. Is that
to
all
the
right?
goats?
Yeah, is that all right?
All you goats out there.
It's funny, on my Twitter page it says "Long live the golden donkey," and no one knows why. I'm going to change it to "Long live
there you go.
Sam Smith's goats."
You're discriminating against goats. Will you sort it out, please? It's great to have you on.
Pleasure to
Mika's
talk to you.
album, No Place Like Heaven, his fourth album, is out now.